one of the things is that the India Street is really very far away from any public transportation.
I agree.
And unless you improve that transportation, what's going to happen is, and this is, and I think I love using the waters for, you know, taxis or anything. It's really great. But I am concerned that some of the people from Long Island will be just coming to Greenpoint, parking in our streets and walking over and getting over because they don't have to pay the parking in Manhattan. And so, and also, you know, so these streets that are very close to the residential streets that are very close to this will be really packed up with commuters. And so I think that would also increase probably our environmental impact. You know, cars are cars. And because there is no public transportation that gets you there, even from the subway. If you were to take the Greenpoint Avenue, you would take the subway and get off at Greenpoint Avenue, right? You would not walk down to there because it's just too far. I think the bus, is there a bus over there? That
it goes down to 24.
Goes
just
close,
stops
but
at Kent.
But it's not really
it's
something.
not close enough.
And it doesn't run very
And so,
well.
you know, and that area, it's really desolate right now. Very desolate. I mean, unless there is going to be something built. So those are my concerns. It's the parking and it's the fact that
well,
there's no public
the lack
transportation.
of mass transit connections is a very real question, and we've been trying to address it with the city, and mostly through, I wouldn't call it reconfiguring, tweaking bus routes so that they come closer. I don't think, you know, there's a parking lot I mentioned here before, and there has been ferry service from this location, and the biggest problem they have is that no one shows up to park. So here, where there's no parking facilities, it's just on the street, and it's.
So I'm just wondering,
This
where are these
is
people
right
going to
off
come
the
from?
LIE. If people were coming from Long Island, this
Where are
is
they going to
the spot
come from? Like, you know, I want you to succeed as much as we want. So where are they going to come? They have no way of getting there.
At the
I mean, are you going to have only bikers coming in there? Whoever has a bike, or you know, to come in. So one of the questions might be: have you thought about a shuttle from, let's see, the Greenpoint Avenue subway to this location? I am not saying that this is what would work, but I'm saying, have you thought about that kind of a thing to move people? It's not a lot of blocks, but it's enough for somebody not to walk.
We haven't really thought about it in the context of Greenpoint, I'll be honest. We have thought about it in other locations, but
I'm just very concerned about that location. Sorry for interrupting, because it is so by itself, and I don't see where the people are going to come from to get onto that ferry. Where are they going to come from, and how are they going to come, other than cycling?
I mean, my concern, by the way, is nice to meet you. So, going on that, is the city guaranteeing that if ridership on the India Street, Greenpoint, whatever, that stop isn't, you know, doesn't measure up to some of the other locations that have people living right on the water? I want to make sure that that's going to stay open regardless, because there are not those buildings that are going to be on the waterfront. They're not there yet. They're not going to be there. People aren't going to live there for at least 3 years, even if they are start building tomorrow. So, you know, you're getting the existing population basically up there, and you know, so if the ridership on that stop is far below the North 6th, Schaefer, etc., we want to make sure that it's going to stay open regardless.
we signed a contract to provide this service, so it's not. We would not be allowed to not run that. So it would be up to the city.
David Hopkins from EDC. The citywide ferry study that we based this service on looked basically at a neighborhood-based ridership profile. So the assumptions that we've made about ridership really assume that people are walking from what we call a primary market area and a secondary market area. The primary market area is really just the folks right around the ferry landing. Secondary extends a little further out, but it really doesn't reach more beyond like a half mile or so. I think what we're looking to, particularly at the India Street Greenpoint location, is the competitive advantage with respect to the existing mass transit, because the G train doesn't provide the direct connection to Manhattan. And so we think that even though the immediate area is rather desolate. There are enough people living in the nearby neighborhood who actually would still have a travel time advantage, even though they had to walk 10 minutes to India Street. We think we can capture some riders there. It's not the highest ridership location, but we're hoping it'll be.
But I think with some help of the transit,
That would be
mass transit, you could really get, I mean, without that, it's going to be pretty hard.
We agree, and
We agree, we've been trying, it's hard to convince the MTA to.
We had a conversation with the MTA about signage in the Greenpoint Avenue stop, so in other words, if you wanna exit if you get off at the Greenpoint Avenue stop, you wanna make sure you're exiting on the India Street side, not on the Greenpoint Avenue side. So you should have a sign there. Same thing on the B62, you should have some kind of signage or notation by the driver saying,
That's a
you know,
whole
the
big
next,
block.
the next
Yeah.
stop, you know, as you're approaching Greenpoint Avenue, they announced for the closest, you know, get off at India Street in order
Right.
to go to the ferry. Just have kind of coordination.
Those are very, things that, when you get off at Greenpoint, then you're right, and you can, the other entrances at India, so.
Well, I think the 24 terminates at Greenpoint or goes.
Greenpoint Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So,
Kent.
and it turns around one block over, so if it turned around just 3 more blocks north, it would be terminating at the ferry landing, a long block, or just 1 block away.
The problem
That's
is
what we're trying
with,
to
It's just
accomplish.
not
the
that
problem is
frequent.
with the 24
Oh, the
runs like every
24.
half an hour, you know, it says 20
Yeah.
minutes, but then it could be 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And they just cut that service on the weekends and nights as well, even though you're running only up until, you know, 8:30. But, we would definitely need that service to be more frequent.
Yeah. And,
So,
and
and
it
that's
will get
something we
there,
could
that
try
would
and
be good.
push.
That would also
You know, the
bring, the
community
24
board.
comes from Queens, right? So.
Yeah,
From,
it goes all the way
from,
Yeah.
like,
up and around.
Aspet, no, Long Island City.
It goes up and
And down.
around the cemetery and then
And
over the
so you-
Kosciuszko
That would
Bridge.
bring you some people from maybe some other areas.
And it seems to me that the EDC, I don't understand why this wasn't looked at, especially those little buses, because that sounds like a surprise to you. So that concerns me, not your part in this, because you've already said yes, and you had your $3 million and whatever. But I get very concerned about the EDC, because there are certain things that they say and promise, and it doesn't happen. So I would expect you to go back and do something about it.
You mean in terms of
In
creating
terms
a
of
shuttle
shuttle,
system?
yeah, to make sure that people can get there. You know, the bus is fine, and you expect, and you think, and whatever, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's gonna happen. So, if it's opening in June, you really need to be more prepared, and I think you really need to go to the DOT and do what they've said, and those shuttles somehow, okay?
I mean, it's an issue of resources. I mean, we've allocated the total amount of funding available to the service itself and to the infrastructure supporting it, so I'm not.
I understand.
I don't wanna make any commitments. that
I
we're gonna
know,
be
but you
able
can look into it, and see if you can get money from somebody else, okay?
Have you timed the bus from the time you get to 34th Street, how long that bus would take to get to 48th? Because I know, you know, driving across town is, you
Yeah,
can
we-
almost walk faster on some of these blocks. I'm serious, they've timed it, you can almost walk faster across town and sitting on a bus just because.
35th Street is not bad,
Yeah.
and actually 34th Street, were it not for the entrance to the Midtown Tunnel, and that first block, for 34th Street would actually be quite good, because the city's done a lot to, restrict traffic for bus lanes on that street. But 35th Street, we have found, yes, we've done extensive time trials, and we run that loop so that we have enough buses on to meet every bus. So if no one would want to take the entire loop, but if they're going from 35th Street to cross town and up, and went all the way up 6th Avenue to 48th Street and back, Donald, what would you say? We got back, all the way back.
48th, it was about 12 minutes, I think,
Time trial,
12.
Put it this way, 2 buses.
6th was about
we-
7 minutes.
We were comfortably,
day.
with two buses
Peak
doing
rush
this
hour.
loop. 2 buses doing this loop
Right.
is meeting every boat coming in. So that's a half an an hour trip, cut it, basically.
Bus only lanes over there?
Yeah, they have the bus only lanes, but does that put you on shuttles or just,
We can run those.
oh, you can run those?
Yes.